Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. I've bellied up to the bar here today. It is the 19th day in August. We are, halfway through the month, so I figured we might as well have another New Yorker here on the show. Somebody else that, listen, you all know I ain't from New York, so why not have somebody who's legitimately from New York? And he's already told me I better do a good job on the show, so I can't be messing around here. So joining us all the way from Fishkill, New York, we're going to be talking about how do we break repeat patterns, and this will make way more sense here in a moment here, folks. So helping me to make sure I'm not messing around, it is Mr. Frank Mesa.
Hey, how are you, Sean? Thank you for the awesome intro.
Listen, I told you I have no idea how I'm going to introduce people. You gave me my ammo. Didn't even know you were giving it to me.
That's right.
Somebody had to do it for me. So, all right, folks, Frank and I are going to be talking about how do we break repeat patterns. He's got a process called ERD. You can check him out on e-r-d.com. We're going to be talking about that here in a moment. But before we get into all that, let's go ahead and take care of all that house cleaning stuff that we always got to do every week there, folks. So let's go ahead and start off with the first thing here, which is always the big board over my right shoulder for sticker and a cause. You got something you believe in, something you're supporting. Maybe you created a process you think is going to help other people and you created stickers for it. You can reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all those different places. Let me know what it is. Our website's theabovethebarpodcast.com. Our email is theabovethebarpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what it is. I'll tell you where to send the sticker. We'll read about you live here on the air so everybody gets to know about you. And then we got to talk about the people that pay the bills around here, folks. You know who that is? That's Budget Blinds. And that's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Delmar, Clifton Park, Lake George. I forgot Lake George. Yeah. Hudson, Coxsackie. Listen, that should have been the entire test right here, Frank, before we got started. I should have just listed cities within New York since you're from New York and see how many you can and can't pronounce.
Right.
I would have been a challenge. I mean, I think it would have been worthwhile.
Coxsackie, I think, is what I've heard pronounced.
Yeah, but so if you go there, though, they call it Coxsackie.
Oh, there you go. But people downstairs called it Coxsackie.
Because it's what it looks like when you look at it. You look at it and you go, that looks like, I'm not saying that because HR is not calling me in today, is what it looks like. It looks like HR is going to call you in the minute you pull it up. But we've got, like I said, folks, East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Delmar, Clifton Park, and their newest addition is Lake George. So make sure you're reaching out to them. They do everything from custom blinds, shades, shutters, drapery, you name it, they're doing it. They do window tint. They come to your home. They show you the product in your home. They show you what it looks like against your furniture, your floors, your walls, so you know if it's going to make sense instead of going to a big box store and some kid with blue hair who doesn't even know what a window treatment is trying to explain to you how to put this thing in, and they don't even know what a drill is. There's somebody there that's going to take care of the entire process for you. So make sure you're reaching out to your local Budget Blinds. And as always, folks, if you tell them you're there to belly up to the bar, they're going to give you another 5% off that entire order. So make sure you're reaching out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Delmar, Clifton Park, and Lake George. All right, brother, it's all done. Frank, how are you?
Awesome. Did well.
So let me just make sure I got all my notes here. So where to go? I had like really good notes on you, Frank. All right. I jacked them all up. So you started off correct me if I'm wrong, started off in transportation. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Give everybody kind of a rundown. Give everybody a rundown because I had really good notes and now I can't find them.
Yeah, no problem at all. So I started my career in railroading, in railroad transportation. I started the entry level Metro North commuter railroad, if you're familiar with them. The ones
I'm qualified on Metro North, or was.
Yeah.
I was an Amtrak conductor.
Oh, get out. Okay, so I started as an assistant conductor, and I ended up at the end of my career, which I retired a year ago today. So today's my 1 year anniversary of
Congratulations.
retiring. Thank you. I was a conductor, became a locomotive engineer, then went into
Wow.
training. I went into training and retired as the chief operations training officer. So
Nice.
lot of experience there, a lot of adventures, a lot of knowledge that I gained just from working with great people and learning a lot about regulations and how to operate a railroad, which is a very unique skill set. To do that. So we have a lot in common.
Yes. I started off as a train master with CSX when I
Huh?
retired out of the Marine Corps, and they wanted me to be in Willard, Ohio. You know where that is?
I do not know Willard, but I know Ohio.
No, neither does anybody else. Uh, and they wanted me to be in Willard, Ohio, and I was like, nope, that's not going to happen. So I knew a guy, one of those knew a guy who knew a guys, and got
Mhm.
on with Amtrak. And I always tell people, if it wasn't for COVID, I was last man standing. I watched 40 guys get furloughed under me during COVID,
Wow.
and I was last man standing. And thought I was like, I can't do this. I got a family and kids, and my Marine Corps retirement. So I walk, man, but I miss it. There's no doubt about it. It's a camaraderie
It
that
is.
you,
It's a family. It's the railroad is a family.
because you spend hours upon hours, trapped in that tube with each other.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Let me tell you my favorite Metro North thing ever. I used to love pulling into Croton Harmon with
Hmm.
Metro North, and
Yep.
somebody would try to get on my train with a Metro North ticket, and they'd be like, "I got a ticket, let me on." I'd be like, "No," and they'd be like, "Why?" They'd be like, "Why can't I get on?" I'm like, "Cause that's not for my train. Train's a train, man." I'm like, "You can't hose down my seats," and they'd be like, and I'd be like, "Highball," and we'd take off. I do this all the time.
No, good,
Yeah,
good for
brother.
you.
Oh yeah, that's funny, man. So we definitely. So if you just retired, so yeah, I did my. This is about me now, folks. I don't give a shit.
Sure.
I did my train. I to do my Metro North rules. I did those right there in. Damn, where did we go for those? Might have been Poughkeepsie. We had to go for Metro North rules. Is there
Yeah,
like a
you may.
classroom upstairs?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
I had an office right up there, and the classroom was right on the second floor there in that building where you went, that like yellow building in
yeah,
Poughkeepsie.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
That's where we had to go to, and it was like when we got there, it was like we had like a female gave us the test. I think the first time, like
mhm.
gave us the test, and she was like, I don't even know what to do with you guys. I was like,
Was it Lynn Hanna? Would you remember if that was her name?
I don't
She
remember. I
older
remember it was a
older
pay.
woman.
No, no, she was probably at that time closer to my age. Like she looked like she was probably late 30s, early 40s.
Okay.
You know, she gave us her test and we went through everything. But I'll tell you, man, I love the railroad. I had 5 different rule books, 300 miles under my belt.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
like
quite a
so
bit of territory.
I could go, I could go all the way to Montreal, Rutland, Vermont. I could go across into Canada, into Niagara Falls, Canada. Yeah,
Right.
I had a pretty good, but that was Albany, man. Like people don't realize that's like the fifth fifth busiest Amtrak station in the country, something like that. Like it's
So that
crazy.
was
Now
your
you
home
guys are,
terminal. That was your
yeah,
home terminal.
yeah, I was home terminaled out of there. And like I said, I miss it. Still stay in touch with a lot of those guys though, because it was just like you said, it's a different environment.
Hmm.
But that railroad retirement's nice though, ain't it?
It is. It is.
Don't get that twisted.
Hey, no, not at all. I say, I took care of the railroad for 30 years. Now it's time for them to take care of me.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
So listen, I know, folks, we made a left turn into some shit I didn't even realize. I saw transportation when I was reading all your notes, and I was thinking you were down in like MTA or something like that because my wife is CDTA up here, so I
Hmm.
thought you were MTA. What do you think of LIR guys? Come on, be honest. What do you think of LIR?
Well, I mean, they're cool. I worked with them a lot because a lot of the equipment we have is similar. We have the same
Right.
electric mobile, sorry, the multiple unit consists. So I work with them a lot. They're good guys. They're good guys.
Remember were you around when you were around for all those guys got busted for the
Oh yeah,
t-
the
t-
overtime stuff.
no, for the Dr. Summeroff?
Oh
They
yeah,
all,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. See, that's what I was talking about. Like, I'm
Yeah.
55 years old. Let me go ahead and take this medical retirement. We can all go golfing together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, they all
Mm-hmm.
got. I'm sorry, folks. I made a left turn into some shit that only railroaders are going to give any crap about what we're talking about right now.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I'm sorry. So you go through this process and you're building and you're this career. Um, Railroad's not easy to get onto, and I mean that's a different animal in and of itself. Especially for nobody who understands, like depending upon what railroad you're on, like we had like Amtrak, you couldn't be a felon because you couldn't go into Canada, things like
Yeah.
that. Different things that like people don't realize with the railroad. But once you're on there, what were some of the things that you were learning? Because when we think about what you put together, and you're going to tell everybody about Evolve, Revolve, and Devolve here in a minute, and that's that ERD. And if you want to know more about it, folks, make sure you're checking out e-r-d.com. That's a system that Frank has put together, and he's going to talk about that. But how much of that came from railroad experience, and how much from life before the railroad?
Well, a lot of it came from the railroad experience because that's where I kind of developed my life skills and my development, my knowledge base. Because, as I said, I started as a frontline employee as an assistant conductor. I'm qualified as a conductor. I became a locomotive engineer, and then I went into training, and altogether was 11 promotions that got me to the executive
Wow.
level of chief operations training officer. So, I mean, you can see a bunch of certificates and stuff behind me, awards. There's some Metro North awards. There's my locomotive engineer certificates back there. So, I had to do a lot of developing of myself in order to become successful in that industry in that career. So the Evolve piece of ERD definitely came from the railroad experience.
Johnny Tuma,
Tuma.
engineer.
Oh, his name doesn't ring a bell.
Okay.
How about
Y'all had
Garrett Keenan? Do you know
You
Garrett
guys had an
Keenan?
engineer that was like a lawyer also. He
Mike
was
King.
like, yeah, I know Mike.
How did I know that? Because the first thing he does is he introduces himself. He says, "I'm an engineer, but I'm also a lawyer."
I'm a lawyer. I just want you to know I'm a lawyer also. Yep.
Absolutely. Mike
Yep.
King and I worked together. He worked with me quite a few times.
Yep.
In and out of training. He would help us out.
I told you, folks, this is my show now. Kiss my ass. We're going to talk about some railroad stuff. We're completely off the rails now. Completely off the rails now. But yeah, Johnny ran out of Poughkeepsie. He came
Okay.
he came from Amtrak and then went to you guys.
Yeah, the name doesn't ring a bell. I was an engineer back in. I guess I hung it up around 2000. So I did
Oh no,
kind of
yeah,
know
he
some of
was.
the other people, but
Nah, he's
later.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Way
didn't
after
really,
that.
I didn't really know the folks after
So
kind of maybe 2010.
so as you're building this system and working on this whole self leadership, behavioral patterns, and things, you know, did you have like a degree background? Like, hey, I have a degree in psychology. I've done this. Like, how do you
Uh,
develop to be able to say, oh well, this is what I'm going to start teaching people about?
so it's all lived experience. It's all life experience. So let me give you my story so that you can
Yeah, please.
understand the context. So I grew up in New York City, in Queens. My parents were immigrants from Cuba. Uh, my dad came to this country, but not with nothing but the clothes on his back, and pretty much pretty quickly after he learned the language, joined the army. So he was in the army for a couple of years. My mother was still back in Cuba. He got her here because they were escaping communism. They didn't want to live in that kind of system. So grew up in New York City in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. Anybody who knows that time was just insanity. All urban areas were crazy. Ravaged with drugs, crack cocaine, all that. And that was very, that affected me and my friends and my family. My sister died of a drug overdose. So there was a lot going on. And I picked up a lot of negative habits, how to deal with stress negatively. So I, was in high school. I graduated from high school. I found myself working at a bank as a clerk for a couple of years. I found that was kind of a dead end job, and I had a teacher in junior high school who kind of really saved my life and helped me out. And he had said to me as a big lesson learned was, if you want to get out of your environment, use your mind. That was the bottom line that he gave me is, you can always use your mind to get out of the environment, which I said to myself, okay, I'm going to go to college. So I went to college. I didn't study psychology. I didn't study anthropology or sociology or anything like that. I studied Africana Studies, which was the study of Africa and the diaspora, and how the contribution of the continent of Africa, played out in the world. So kind of had that, graduated from college, and really didn't have a career path. And at the time, my girlfriend's mother worked on the railroad. She said, "Oh, you should try to get a job on the railroad." So I got a job on the railroad, and that began my journey. So as I explained before, I was doing very well in my career. My career was flourishing. I had really challenging times in relationships. So I was married and divorced 3 times, which kind of made me feel like, what's wrong? What's going on in my life that I'm married and divorced 3 times? I can't seem to find the right relationship, can't seem to find love that lasts. So that was what I considered a revolving pattern in my life. Like it was the same results with different faces. And I was like just saying, well, okay, this is not working. And then there was my health. So when I said I picked up bad habits, above the bar, I spent a lot of time at the bar. So I was drinking excessively. When I said excessively, I was getting home from work. I was drinking about a bottle of bourbon a day.
Damn.
Yeah,
You really were a railroader. 3 times divorced and crushing a bottle of bourbon. You really were a railroader.
I was
Damn.
hardcore. And it's part of culture, sort of, right? It's like you get it. So I was 100 pounds overweight. I was diabetic. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I seen both of my parents die from those types of complications. So I was really at a point where I was in a kind of a state of desperation, to the point where I was actually contemplating suicide at one point in my life, and kind of was, kind of saved by divine intervention. I say I was sitting there ready to end it all, and somebody called me. Her name happened to be Angie. She was my friend's girlfriend, and I say to this day she's like an angel, because Angie saved my life.
I get it.
Yeah. So I took an assessment of myself. I sat down and I said, okay, Frank, well, what's working in your life? What's not working? What was working was my career. I was evolving. What was not working was my relationships, which were revolving. And what was really not working was my health, which was devolving. I was quickly going over a cliff. Any day now, it would have been, hospitalization if I was lucky. So I started to think about, well, what is it that is contributing to these behaviors? And I realized that basically when the rubber meets the road, it's just the decisions we're making, right? The quality of our life. Well, our life is the accumulation of our decisions, and the quality of our life is the accumulation of the quality of our decisions. And so I came to understand for me, and then when I started to work with others and started to talk to others, that people generally make decisions through 2 means. One is emotional. So, they have an idea, an impulse, or an emotion, and they make an emotional decision. And generally, unless you're you have high emotional intelligence, you can have, really negative, bad decisions if you're deciding emotionally. So a road rage incident, domestic violence, DUI, any one of those things can come from an emotional decision. That's one. And then the other one is habit, right? And like I said, I kind of grew up in the streets of New York. Then I worked at the railroad, and there's a lot of bad habits that you could accumulate in those areas, right? So I accumulated a lot of bad habits, and I was making decisions just habitually. So one of the decisions was, when I was young and we were hanging out and we got stressed out, we drank. We went to the bar, we drank, and we got, shit-faced. And then kind of forgot our problems, woke up the next day, and that was what we did. And so I habitually picked that up and just exercised it, and that continued on the railroad. There was a lot of that kind of healthy, unhealthy behavior going on the railroad. So I realized, okay, so if I'm making the decisions through emotion and I'm making my decisions through habit, then how can I change that? And then I realized that each decision we make, each single decision, regardless of what it is and what area of your life, is going to send you down one of three paths. The decision is either going to help you evolve in your life or evolve that aspect of your life. It's going to make you revolve in your life, or it's going to make you devolve in your life. So you have one of three paths to take for every decision you make. So the ERD is a tool to allow you to make better decisions, because once you're conscious of the fact that when you're making a decision, you're going to go down one of these three paths, then you can make better decisions. So simply enough, you go into the kitchen and you have candy bars in your cupboard, or you have apples in your fridge, right? The very simple decision of saying I'm going to eat the candy bar. Well, what's that going to do for me? It's going to make my health, maybe devolve. If I eat the apple, it's going to make my health evolve. I'm going to get healthier. So something as simple as that around your health can really be improved with this system, this ERD system. So what it is, it's just a tool, a decision-making methodology that allows you to kind of have an idea, an impulse, or an emotion, stop, pause, put it in a box, in this ERD box, and say, okay, when I make this decision, which way is it sending me? And once you're clear on that, then whatever decisions you're making, you can no longer leave up to happenstance or to ignorance, because now you actually know that there's a consequence to the decision you're making, and that then it's on you. So, but if you want to improve your life, if you want to evolve any aspect of your life, it's a very powerful tool to use.
So, and my buddy Scott's watching us right now, and he says, "Glad you're still here, Frank."
Yes, thank you, because I was very close. I had a pistol in my hand. I was seconds away from taking myself out.
It's always interesting to me how close we get to those kind of things, and we have those situations in our lives when we think no one's there and no one's listening, but God's still there. He's still listening. He's still paying attention, and puts that piece in front of us, because we probably heard what you didn't realize is 100 times he put the signs in front of you that here's where to go and here's how to do it, but you couldn't see it. It literally took a phone call to go, "Hey, I'm right here."
Yeah.
Well, shit.
That's exactly what happened.
It's always amazing to me. God will put it there right for you. You won't even realize it. So in this process, and again, folks, if you have questions for Frank, maybe you're going through a situation and you want to know more about this, how do you get involved in it? You can check out e-r-d.com. Or if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat right now. One of the questions I have for you, so before somebody can even start to do the evolve process here, how do they sit? How do you have them, or do you have a process for sitting down and kind of doing that self-evaluation part?
Yes, absolutely. So on the website, e-r-d.com, you can do, so the website is also an app, and it allows you to do an assessment of any area of your life that you feel stuck, right? So evolve is you're moving forward. Revolving, you just feel stuck in life, and then in that particular area of your life. And devolve is, you're going backwards, or you're quickly, driving off a cliff. So there's a self-assessment that you can take that will give you a score. And then what the power of the app is, so I'll say certain things are very personal. So a lot of times you can use an accountability partner, another human being or an individual, to say, hey, I'm trying to improve this area of my life. But sometimes that area of your life could be very personal and private. Like, I'll share one for myself. There was a time when I was watching way too much pornography. And that's not something that I wanted to share with somebody to say, hey, congratulations to myself. I didn't watch porn yesterday. Right? That was
fair enough. That's fair enough.
that was a little too personal. So I created the app so that I can score myself on my accountabilities to myself. So on the app, you can go from a score of 1 to 5 and say, okay, I wanted to eat healthy today. And so, I go the next morning and I log onto my app and I say, okay, how did I fare against my goal? And then I just kind of, that refines the process a little bit more. So you have, I can provide you with a free self-assessment. You get 2 free ones when you go on the site. And then the site is very affordable because I know I was really down in a bad place. Yeah, $1.99 a month.
Bro, it's $2. Cheap asses. I know you all suck and you need something like this in your life. It's $2. Stop being cheap. Go to e-r-d.com. Stop being cheap.
Yeah. Improve any area of your life, literally any area. Because the thing is, like I say, life is one indivisible whole. I realized I was really good at work. I was really good at that area of my life. I really sucked at relationships, and I was even worse with my health, right? But there could be anything. It could be in your life, could be anything, like I said, and that you want to improve, that you feel stuck in, and this is a tool that will help you get unstuck. And like I said, it's like a paradigm shift. I like to say, if you have a favorite pair of underwear, boxers, or socks or something, and once that elastic gets stretched so far, it never bounces back. That's the point of this. That's the point of this framework, is that it stretches your consciousness and your paradigm to the point where you realize, okay, the decisions I'm making they matter. So let me. I'll never go back to the ignorance of saying, oh, I'm just making these decisions out of ignorance. So that'll never happen again.
Susan just said, my son suffers with issues of feeling stuck, has had suicidal thoughts. This would be very helpful. Absolutely, Susan. And like I said, it's e-r-d.com. There's some videos to check out. There's some books versions of things that he's got on there. Take the self-assessment. I think that's one of the biggest things. Take the self-assessment. Even if you take it and you're kind of like, I didn't realize that about me and how I was functioning. It's such a simple tool to do those kind of things. And back to your other thing about telling everybody that you was watching too much porn. Listen, because you can't tell anyone that, because you know how that works. You can't tell a woman because she's gonna be like, ew. And you don't want to do that. You're so nasty. Knowing that if I took her phone out of her hand and I went to the search engine and I typed the letter P into it, the whole thing's gonna be like. Pfft. So, and if you asked another dude and you were like, yeah, man, no dude's gonna be like, man, I understand. They're gonna be like, what channel you watching?
Exactly.
Like, so you can't. I get that. Something like this. If you had something along those lines, and I joke about those kind of things, but the reality of it is these are the kind of things where, like, hey, maybe you need to get into something like this. You need to see what's going on to get yourself back in line. So, but now this is always my thing, though. I love self-help. I love if somebody needs counseling, needs somebody like something like that in their life, I think it's a great tool. But do you have an end game on it? And what I mean by that is, hey, you're now doing this. You're good now. You're okay. Now you're at maintenance. Does that make sense? Do you have that for somebody?
Oh, absolutely. So let me also say a couple of other things that I didn't mention. So one of the things in my journey in my life was that I was on a show called The Amazing Race. It's this race around the world kind of thing.
Bro, I saw that. I meant to talk to you about that shit. I love The Amazing Race. And you were like the runner-up and shit. Like
yeah, runner-up the first season. Yes, correct. And then when that ended, that highly affected me, because I went from like regular, Joe to like, D-class celebrity to then back to regular Joe. And that was very confronting. So it was something that I needed to process and get over. So when I retired, within the last year, I wrote a book and I released a book. So the book is called Alchemy. It's as easy as ERD, and that's where the ERD comes from. But the subtitle is Turning Pain into Power. And that's really where it's at, right? Because if you read my book, I've gone through a very challenging life story. And I could have allowed that those experiences to claim victimhood and to allow them to break me down. What I've chosen to do is take that pain and turn it into power. And so I like to make the analogy of, in life, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And so just as I go into the gym and I, lift weights to, challenge me to get better, to get stronger, these experiences that we have in life, these adversities that we go through, they serve the same purpose. They're there to make you stronger, wiser, and better. So instead of turning and saying, well, I'm a victim, you could say, hey, listen, that's a certain amount of pain, but that's going to make me a much more powerful person if I lean into it and I learn the lessons that I'm supposed to learn from this and learn how to overcome them. So the end game for me is to give people the opportunity to go from victimhood to become a champion of their life story. And so for me, I'm very satisfied currently with my life because I have the consciousness now to recognize that I need to evolve all areas of my life. There's nothing that's falling by the wayside for me because, again, like I said, it's a paradigm shift where I am very conscious of the decisions that I'm making. And the Chinese have this proverb that's a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And a lot of people feel that change or transformation in life is very difficult, but it really isn't. It really is just one decision at a time. That's all you have to think about, and that's all you have to worry about is that next decision, and leave it at that. They say how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. That's all you have to, yeah, exactly. That's all you have to focus on. Yeah, I love Zig. Zig is great. But yeah, it's one decision at a time. That's all you have to focus on. And if you do that, like I said, those decisions become habits. Then those habits compound, and those compounding habits create, a powerful and fulfilling life that we all have the ability to attain. So that's really my mission. That's my goal. Is to empower people, to show them that they have the power to direct their lives in the way that they feel is going to be best for them.
So I love that sound, brother, because there are just so many people out there. And I guess the other side to this, how does this help people with the other side to it, which is removing those pieces? Like you said, hey man, I was a food blister, I was drinking myself silly, I'm doing all these things. How can with this system, or even for yourself, when you, and I know you're talking about like one step at a time, one piece at a time, but like if you're a drunk and you're crushing a bottle every night, being like, well, I'm only gonna drink half a bottle a night, that's not really solving the issue. Like you're still
No, but
in the bottle. But how do you help people to really understand that, like, you got to step away from it? Because I try to explain to my children all the time, like, listen, just because you think somebody's your friend, we all grow. Like that, it doesn't mean you got to hate that person no more because you're changing your life. But sometimes you have to separate yourself from those people. You have to.
and again, ERD applies to every area of life. So I also say that there are people in your life that push you to do better, and those are the people that help you evolve. There are people in your life that will help keep you stuck because that's what they're comfortable with, and that's the comfort zone they want you in. So they're going to keep you revolving in that pattern. And there are people that are literally going to drag you down to the level they're at because they want you to devolve because of whatever their issue is. But that's not your problem. That's a them problem, not a you problem. So I say you have to cut off the people that are making you devolve or wanting you to devolve. You have to very much limit the people that make you revolve, and you have to invest your time and your energy and your effort into the folks that are helping you evolve and to progress in life. So back to your question about like, so somebody's a drunk. I wasn't in AA or anything, but I realized that okay, and it was gradual. It didn't happen overnight. Like I realized okay, a whole bottle of bourbon isn't the best thing to do. So I set a goal for myself. Okay, no more than 3 drinks at one time. Within a 1 hour period. Within a 1 hour period, I said no more than 3 drinks in a 1 hour period. And then I started doing that. And then I started saying, okay, no more than 3 drinks in one evening, like one day. I wouldn't do no more than 3 drinks within a 1 hour period within one day. And then eventually I just really started asking myself, what is the purpose of this? Like, is it helping me become a better person? Am I? It was contributing to my relationship problems, right? It was contributing to my health problems. So I said, if this is contributing to my health and relationship problems, and those are two areas I recognize that I'm struggling in, then why would I continue to contribute to those things? Let me contribute something else. So I said, you know what? Instead of having a drink, I'm gonna take a walk around the block. So now when I'm stressed out, I'm gonna take a walk around the block. And I just turned 56 years old yesterday, and I'm in the best shape of my life. Even when I was on The Amazing Race, which I was in great shape, but I'm in the best shape of my life at 56 because of the concept of this, wanting to improve my health and evolve my health. It really is miraculous, and I'm proof that it works. Because I'm 56, best shape of my life. I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm at peace. Career-wise, I retired from my career at the railroad, and now I've embarked on writing a book and helping others, really turn their pain into power and improving their lives. So I feel that every area of my life, there's nothing lacking. Like I'm not dropping the ball in any area. I'm on it in all aspects.
Completely left turn for a second. They ever call you back for the race?
Yes, they did. They called me back a couple of times, but I went on with my ex-wife, and I just would never do that again. It was torture the first time, and
come on, but you wouldn't
go. I did do a couple of things. They had like an all-star, and they asked me to write like a note to another one of the teams called like Team Guido that were like my arch nemesis. So I wrote like this silly note that they were supposed to read on air. And then another time they called me down to one of the other starts of the races in Times Square, and then all the contestants ran to me and asked me, "Hey, where did your race end? Because that's our first clue." So they're very. I'll be honest. I mean, that is quite a franchise. They've been around. This is 25 years. 25 years. We started right around 9/11, 2001. That's when it aired. We wrapped up. I think it was March or April of 2001. So you're talking 25 years. This show's been on the air, and they still have a fan base, and they still do things that are exciting.
I used to get into it. I used to get into it. I mean, I had a couple of seasons in there. I couldn't tell you what the season numbers were.
Right.
Because I was
like 40 now, 39.
Yeah, I was definitely into it because I was in the Marine Corps at the time. I was like, I could do that shit.
Yeah.
I got this. I was curious though, like, especially if you feel like, man, I'm 56, I'm in a different person,
I would go. Could I do it now? Absolutely. I can do it.
I think you should go back. You should go back.
If they invited me back, I would go. I would say.
Take Mike King with you. I think you should take Mike King with you. That would be the best because he's not in that shape.
The railroaders, we call it.
He'd be like, I can negotiate this one. I'm a lawyer.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Oh, that's funny, man. I'm just we definitely.
I love you, Mike. If you're listening, Mike, I love you.
Mike, you better be listening. Oh God, that would be so. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys that we probably would know. But so what's the? I guess the other side to this is there's a lot of these programs. Like we all kind of figure out like, wait a sec, like we had a gentleman on last week. He was a West Point graduate, and he teaches leaders about the difference between building or diminishing, how you communicate with each other. And then as I hear with you, it almost kind of reminds me in this process how we talk to ourselves. We're either helping ourselves to evolve, revolve, or devolve. How you're communicating, are you building or diminishing yourself with self-talk? How much of that did you realize was a big portion? Not so much the outside influences, but your self-speak.
Well, we all have this internal dialogue that we're constantly up against, and I remember hearing a Native American story where this young Native American goes to the village elder and he says, I have a good wolf and a bad wolf inside of me, and they're constantly fighting. Which one is going to win? And the elder says responds to the young man, and he says, the one that you feed. So, I took that to heart and realized that the one that you feed. So, if you have this self-talk that's destructive, that's disempowering, that is keeping you stuck or making you devolve or pushing you backward, um, you have to identify it. You have to make sure that you don't feed it, and you know that there's another side of that, that is the positive side, the evolve side of your life, that you want to feed. So, like I said about the decisions. That's the criticality of the decisions, because you have an idea, you have some self-talk, but that self-talk is going to drive you to some kind of decision, and that self-talk, those decisions generally again come from emotion or habit. And if you have, you know, not the best emotional intelligence, or if you have not the best habits, that's going to drive bad decisions. That's going to drive bad habits, and you're not going to get the best results. So having a system, which is what I'm offering here, is this ERD system. It allows you to direct that self talk into a positive place and feed that good wolf, let's call it, that's within us all, because we have both. It's just that, which one are we feeding? And the thing is, you know, popular culture, media, social media, internet, influences, friends and family. I mean, all of those things, plus the fact that, just like you mentioned Zig Ziglar before. I'm a big yeah I'm a big fan of Jim Rohn, who was kind of in that
Okay.
same group of people. And Jim Rohn, he used this analogy of the garden of the mind. So we all have this mind. It's like a garden, and you have to tend to that garden, because weeds grow automatically. So the weeds are those negative thoughts, and they will grow automatically. That's on autopilot. That's never going to change. If you want to have a nice garden, you have to fight back the weeds, the bugs, the pests, constantly. And so you have to do that through tending your garden, the garden of your mind. So if you want to grow roses, and you want to have a rosy disposition, then make sure that you're beating back those weeds, and you're beating back those noxious bugs, and toxic influences. And that's, like I said, that's automatic. It's up to us to change the self talk to include much more positive and empowering stuff to then feed your mind, feed your decisions, and improve your life.
Well, it's this. We've thrown out a lot of sayings here, folks, but it's the you're the first person to believe your lies.
That's absolutely true.
You're the first person to believe your lies. So if you self talk yourself down, you're the first person to believe it. And if you don't know who Zig Ziglar is, folks, he was like the OG of self help, but he wasn't an asshole and told you that you suck and you need to walk across coals and fire and all that. He just told you, like, help other people do good things, and you'll do good things. Just be a good person and talk to
I think
everybody in a good way.
one of his famous quotes was, "Whatever you want to get out of life, help others get that, and you'll get it as well."
It's if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Correct. Exactly. Yes.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
I've read, listened to, digested everything I could possibly get my hands on. I actually just bought two of my employees his book. I'll see you at the top.
Yeah.
Just so it's
I'm
just
looking on my bookshelf. There's a little book called the Zig Ziglar Little Book of Big Quotes. And it's
yes,
a tiny
I know
little
the
book.
one.
It's right
I know
there.
exactly the one I know the one you're talking about. Susan says a lot of people stay in situations out of fear. This address that of fear. Does this address fear, like fear of protection, fear of exception, fear of what other people think? That's a good question. Like, can this be used for that same kind of thing? Hold that thought for a second. I want you to think about it for a second, because I got to do something here real quick, because it is almost closing time here, folks. We're getting into the part of August where you start realizing summer went by way too fast. The sun's setting a little earlier, the nights are getting a little cooler, but there's still plenty of summer left to enjoy. This episode is brought to you by New Scotland Spirits, handcrafted right here in upstate New York. So grab some friends, find a spot outside, put the phone down for a while and enjoy a good conversation with a great pour, because summer doesn't need a big send off. Sometimes all you need is good people, a good bottle, and nowhere else you need to be. New Scotland Spirits. You can find it at newscotlandspirits.com to find your next bottle. New Scotland Spirits. Pour a glass, stay a while. So back to Susan's question here for a minute. Um, Lost it for a second. So back to Susan's question for a minute. A lot of people. Nope, I grabbed it twice there, Susan. Sorry about that. Does this help to address things like fear of protection, fear of expectation, fear of what other people are thinking?
I'd say absolutely, because um, fear really, when you define it as a beacon, right? Fear, when you're experiencing fear, you're that is it's a message that's telling you that it's something that you need to confront. So there's two ways to address fear. Some people they feel fear and they get stuck. They allow it to stop them. Then other people experience the exact same fear, but then proceed to move through it and confront the fear and kind of process through it and use it as a tool. The fear becomes a tool to make you stronger. So if you feel fear, you should never give up. So I use the first example I'll use that we all kind of went through at some point was, we all, attempted to walk at some point as a child, right? And so, we all felt the fear, we all had the failure, we fell down 100 times, we got up 101 times, because at no point did we say, you know what, I'm fearful that people are thinking, negatively of me because I'm falling down or I'm struggling or whatever. It's like, no, I'm going to learn how to walk, and I'm going to continue learning how to walk. I'm not just going to sit down for the rest of my life, or I'm not going to lay down. So as a child, as a baby, we felt that fear, but we kept pushing through. Society then conditions us to see fear as something that should limit us. And what I would challenge you to do is, once you feel that fear, is to say, okay, this is a message, this is a beacon, this is telling me that there's something here that is challenging me to be stronger, and then lean into that fear and choose to evolve through the fear. And that's the point of the system, is you can choose to evolve through the fear, because when you feel the fear, you have three choices. You're either going to evolve through it, you're going to revolve through it, or you're going to devolve through it. So it's your choice, and having the consciousness to be able to say, okay, it's going to be difficult, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to figure it out. And in my case, like you said, there was divine intervention where God said, hey, you know what, this isn't your time, this isn't your story. Somehow, some way, those things show up for you, and life becomes magical.
And I get it. And she did have a little bit of a follow up. I'm going to kind of paraphrase it. Her question was, a lot of people have an understanding of why they have the issues, but they have a lot of fear to get past, like rejection or fear of other people think what other people think, the fear of fear failure. Does this help? I think you've kind of hit on it, but I think one of the things that comes to mind for me as I'm hearing this, and kind of going back to one of the first things we talked about, it's that identifying side to it. Being able to kind of point to not necessarily the surface issue, but it, like you kind of said it. Hey, I was drinking a lot, or I was having relationship issues, but I realized where I grew up at, this was our defense mechanism. But then let me go one step further. I also had parents who fought to get to this point, so I knew everything was about a fight. Because I can't imagine dad coming from Cuba after communism, mom living through that, and then getting here. You probably heard a million times, Papi, you know what it's like. Do you know what they're suffering through? You're upset about this. You had that, so everything was like, well, am I struggling enough? How far back do you dig for it?
Well, that was the work, right? The work was making an assessment and then recognizing why I was making decisions that I was making. So let's go back to the context of fear. So when you feel fear, you're making decisions. Ask yourself, what decisions and why am I making the decisions I'm making when I feel fear? So if the decision is that I feel fear because I'm afraid that people are going to judge me, then you're making decisions from an emotional perspective. Or you're making decisions because you're afraid that people are going to judge you. That's an emotion that's driving your decision. So it's not as necessarily as logical. One of my things is I study Stoicism. And Stoicism was very helpful to help me get through a lot of my challenges. Stoicism is it's like so if you watch Star Trek, like Spock was very stoic. Stoicism is a philosophy that was just adopted by like Marcus Aurelius, who was the Roman emperor, and basically applies logic to life. And basically, if I could say it in a nutshell, just control the things that you can control and don't worry about anything else. All you can focus on is the things that you can control. You can't control how people judge you. You can't control people's opinions of you. You can control your own opinion of yourself. You control your own behavior. And so that's what you should focus on. Don't worry about the things you can't control. Control the controllables and don't worry about things you cannot control. And so when you're thinking about these decisions you're making, because you're faced with the fear of judgment, because you're faced with whatever fear, recognize that you're making those decisions from an emotional perspective. Once you identify that your emotion is driving that decision, that's what's holding you back. Now you can use the ERD tool to then take a pause and say, okay, I don't need to make this decision from emotion. I need to make it from some type of logic to know the path that I really want to go down. And then you can choose the path that you want to go down.
So I love how you're presenting all this and the process is so. I want to go back to the website as we're getting closer here. So, somebody's on here. Obviously, we said take the assessment. But how long does that thing take? Like if I was going to take the assessment,
5 minutes, five to 7 minutes, perhaps.
So after they take the assessment, I see track your progress, daily check in, and reflect and focus. So is it? Do they need to do the assessment and buy the book? Do they need to just take the assessment? Is there a conversation with you? Is there any groups that they end up being part of? Any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I would certainly recommend buying the book because it tells my life story, and I say I was educated in the school of hard knocks, and so I took a lot of lumps and went through a lot of challenges that no school, no classroom would have taught me. It was really just life experience. So the book is very important so you can understand the foundation and the reasoning behind ERD. Then I would say yes, absolutely do the assessment and get the app. If you want additional assistance, I do run courses, online courses that you can sign up for. If you scroll down a little further, you could sign up and make a
CRD guidance system, better making decisions.
For better decision making. Yeah. So if you look at that, you can register for a course, or if you want one-on-one coaching, I do offer that as well. So my all of my social media is on there. There's a link that you could send me a message on email, and we could really work together to get you unstuck. Because that's my mission. My mission is to help people get unstuck. It's a mission to empower people, to get them in a place where they feel powerful and strong and satisfied about the path they're on in life. There's no magic pill. This is not going to happen overnight. But once you change your trajectory, you start building momentum, and like I said, magic begins to happen.
All right, so that's Richie Heiss. Richie Heiss.
No.
David Todd McGill. Dave McGill. You got to know Dave McGill.
I don't know Dave McGill. I know the old school guys, bro. I know the old school guys.
Dude, Dave McGill is who built he built an exact duplicate of the Poughkeepsie walking bridge.
Oh wow, the walkway over the Hudson Bridge. Oh,
yeah, wow. He's like super famous for that. And back to your question there for a second, Susan. Let me pull it up for you real quick. The book is actually called Alchemy. It's as easy as ERD, a decision-making framework for turning pain into power.
You can find it on Amazon. If you go to my website, If you go to
It's
the
all
app
right there.
website, there's a link for that, and there's also some other information on there. You
I
can
grab the audio version because that's what I do. I'm an
yeah,
audio guy.
yeah, it's an audio
So
book.
yeah, I'm an audio guy. I'm in the car too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
yeah,
narrate.
so that's the book there. It's Alchemy. It's as easy as ERD. You can find a copy of it right there. Any upcoming speaking engagements anywhere other than online where people can find you if they wanted to follow you? How do they follow you?
Uh, I would say go to my social media. I post every day. My Instagram is very active. My Facebook is very active. My TikTok is the most active. So you'll get to see my philosophy. You'll get to see my messaging, and we can communicate through that. I don't have any speaking engagements currently booked, but I am doing lots of online content, which is intended to really support people and help people through their challenges in life.
All right. Chris Miller. One more name. Chris Miller.
Chris Miller. I do know Chris Miller.
I about to you have to know because Chris used to give us the tour of Penn
Yes.
Station, and he was an Amtrak guy. He gave the tour for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know
Mm-hmm.
Chris.
Yes.
All right. See, I knew I'd find one more that you know. Listen, folks, as we always do this, and Susan, I appreciate you so much being so active, asking questions, and being involved in the show. That really makes a difference. It makes the guests more comfortable, makes everybody more comfortable. So we really appreciate you popping up. If you're finding me, as I always say, if you're finding me through, gosh, can't use words today, Frank. If you're finding me through Frank or Frank through me, make sure you're giving this a like, share, follow. Go find his social media. Frank, I almost said Mesa. I almost said Mesa. I almost did it.
Don't mess around. Don't mess around.
Not Mesa. It's Mesa. I almost said Mesa. Uh, so if you found me through Frank or Frank through me, make sure you're taking a moment, give him a like, share, following all his social media. The same thing we would ask here. It might sound cliche. It might sound like really we're doing this. Yes, we're really doing this. This is how these processes work. This is how these algorithms work. The whole 9 yards. And make sure you join us because we do this every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live. Coming up next week, we have Rhonda Shader. Rhonda is, let me get all my notes here. So she's a Orange County politician out of California who just came back from D.C. and is working on the housing crisis. She also works with the UNA. Have you ever heard of that one? That's an interesting one for me. UNA. So you've heard of the UN, right?
Yeah.
United Nations. So they actually have an offshoot that is actually the people that do the work called the United Nations Association. So those are the real volunteers that actually do the work. So she's a member of that organization also. She's a global diplomacy ambassador. So we're going to just be talking about things associated with that. We get a lot of people. It's the craziest thing. I ran in this woman, Kristen Manna. She's become a good buddy of mine. She lives out in Orange County, California, brother. I get people from Orange County all the time because of her. Like completely, I'm like, I'm in New York, but what's going on in California? And we had the superintendent of Orange County schools on, bro. 450,000 kids in that school district, and one dude's the superintendent. One, like he's like the Hobbit, the One Ring. One superintendent to rule them all.
I thought I was doing something because I had a railroad of 7,000 people that I was in charge of,
dude.
Responsible for training and qualifying.
He's a wild dude. So, quick sidebar, just because we're talking. He was born with it wasn't scoliosis, but basically his legs didn't work. Born in Vietnam, parents at 2 years old left him on the street. An orphanage picked him up and then brought him to the United States. Moved in with a family who took care of him, taught him English. He never had any thoughts of being a school teacher. He's paraplegic school teacher and now moves his way up, just like yourself. Had a shitty start to it all, and then he's running the house. If that's not the American dream, I don't know what is. Just like you, brother. What you did, if nobody can sit there and say, well, we're all being held down. No. Get your shit together, evolve, revolve, and evolve, and you can do it. Here's the end of this, brother. As we do in every episode, the guest always gets the final word. Don't log off on me after. We got to talk for a minute. But the guest always gets the final word. What's our final word for tonight?
Always choose to evolve.
Alrighty, folks. Be sure to push your stool in.
This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.
Did you have fun?